Aberdeen, Chapter 3. Surprise. I woke up the next morning all excited. That kiss was electric. Despite all the weird, creepy, sad stuff before it. But that kiss was electric, guys. It was amazing. That's all I could really think of. I got up, and as I did, I felt a little pep in my step. I looked up, and I was like, big props, G-Man. I looked around the house, and Abby was nowhere. As I did my morning routine, I wandered around looking for her, but she wasn't there. Around the time I was getting ready to come out, I saw her sitting on her motorcycle, smirking and waving at me. I walked up, and she said, "I can see that you're glowing." I kind of was a little blushed and taken back. I was like, "Oh, what do you mean?" She's like, "Don't make it weird. It was just a kiss. Just hop on, let's go." Don't take it weird. It was just a kiss. That's the first kind of action I've had in possibly months, or even, who am I kidding, years. Let's just be honest, I haven't gotten anything, and let's just be honest, she's a pretty hot girl. Other than the ludicrous amounts of Axe body spray she sprays on herself and the smell of cheap booze, she isn't too bad. She's actually pretty alluring. I could see myself with her. I had to shake my head and go, what am I thinking? I am going nowhere with my life. I have no prospects. The most exciting thing I've ever done was bungee jumped, and I wussed out at the last minute and said I did. Oh God, I'm living a lie. But, she kind of adds a cool aspect to my life. We made my way to my job. She said, "I'll pick you up around 8 o'clock like some kind of soccer mom," and sped off as fast as she could, peeling tires and making smoke everywhere. I was standing there waving the smoke and coughing and gagging, and one of my coworkers said, "Who's your girlfriend?" I said, No, she's not. And of course, being one of my coworkers, and I'm responsible for getting his paycheck cut, he just walked off. Finding out that it was sarcasm, my hand was kind of standing up as I was starting to explain. I looked back, and he was already down the way. I held my breath and said, yeah, that's right. Of course, my 2-day mini suspension was over. Didn't really get a lot done as far as vacation goes. I made my way back up to the office space and did my job, and of course my boss had more of his crap that I had to do. I did all of it, and of course he gave me that smug little idealistic talk that I would go places if I just complied, and that I am appreciated, quote unquote. I did whatever, and I did my thing. I made my way down to the lunch break room around lunchtime. As soon as I got down there, I was looking through the vending machine of all the crap that I could eat that wasn't exactly healthy for me. Between expired sandwiches and Take 5 bars and chips, I wasn't sure what smorgasbord of absolute deliciousness and poor vitamin nutrition I should get. All of a sudden, there's Abby hanging around the front of the door. People were sneaking by her and pushing by her awkwardly. She just kind of stood there and looked at me, holding a bag full of fast food. I grabbed her by the wrist and pulled her into the room and said, "What are you doing?" And other people would look at us occasionally going, "Who is this lady? Where's this Axe body spray smell coming from?" I could tell. If I was thinking it, they were. And she said, "I brought you some food. I knew that the sandwiches in there were crappy, so I got you something." With a cute, innocent look on her face. I knew she was just messing with me. I grabbed the food really quick and looked in. I looked back up at her really quick with a very straight face, saying, "This is half a burger and some fries at the bottom and some empty ketchup packets." She said, "I got a little hungry." I looked at the bag and set it down around my ankles and said, "Thanks." I picked the bag up and took it over there and, cut around where she ate it. God knows. Something about eating after somebody else bothered me. I was eating it and she began talking to me, and again, there's my ex-coworker saying, "Nice girlfriend." And they'd all laugh and, again, look away from me like I was the plague. Bothering me. She said, "Don't mind them anything. So, what do you got planned for tonight?" And I said, "I'm probably just going to go home and sleep or something, or watch TV, see what's on the networks, and possibly go to bed pretty early." She said, "Screw that. Come with me." And I said, it's Wednesday. We don't really have time to be going out and having fun. She's like, "No, come with me. We're going to go to a party." does this woman not understand that some people on the planet have jobs and obligations the next day? She said, we won't get drunk, we won't do anything, we're just going to go dance and have a little fun. Then we'll be home around 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. Not too bad. Begrudgingly, I set the sandwich down on the table and said, fine. Okay, we'll do that. But no drinking. We need to get home safely. I don't want to die on that motorcycle. She said, oh, come on, you like my driving. I kind of laughed a little. I was like, okay, just a little bit. But try not to kill us. She stood up and laughed, and one of the security guards walked in and said, ma'am, do you work here? She's like, oh, she looked at me and she said, I'm his wife. I gagged a little bit and coughed on some of the fries that she had left for me. He looked at me and said, ma'am, you're not supposed to be in here without one of those key cards. And she said, I borrowed one from my husband. The security guard looked at me and began to speak to me and telling me that I'm not supposed to give that to her. Those are confidential and only used for employees. Read me the Sermon on the Mount. I told him I apologize, she got the wrong idea, I didn't explain it to her, she's never been here and it won't happen again, blah blah blah. He said whatever and just walked out. She looked at me and told me she'll see me later, and grabbed a big backpack that was sitting next to the door. I guess I didn't notice it, but I heard a lot of clanking around. I didn't think anything of it, and just continued eating what meager food that dumb girl left for me. Thanks a lot, Abby. I sat there for what seemed like a few more minutes and looked at my clock and made a mad dash up to the office. I finished all the work that my boss had for me and made my way down the steps. It was about 7 o'clock and I saw Abby waiting out there. It was already pretty dark and the stars were lighting up. It was actually really refreshing. I was still in my office clothes and I asked her if we could stop by the house. She said, nope, plopped the helmet back on my head, sat me down on the bike, and we took off at about 90 miles an hour down a 30-mile-an-hour speed zone, just barely missing a cab. Freaking out, I said, why are you in such a hurry? She said, it's gonna be fun, and we made our way down to the party. It was an old dance club, one I heard about when I was in high school and that some of the girls at my school went to, but I never really went there. We went in there and people were dressed up in all kinds of weird costumes, and at first I thought, oh god, it's a gay bar. I said, you do realize it? And she's like, don't worry about it, we're just incognito. It's costume night. Nothing of it. She handed me a cup of punch, and I said, this isn't spiked, remember, we gotta get home safe. She said, don't worry about it. I took a swig, and it was actually pretty good. A little fruity for my taste, but it tasted pretty good. I had another drink, and another, and another. And we just danced and had a lot of fun. The music was pounding, my heartbeat was speeding up, I was excited, I was having a lot of fun. A lot of people started calling me Office Space, as if to make fun of me, but I didn't care. Abby had some pretty sweet moves, and with that nice 10-dime body, she rocked it pretty hard. It was pretty nice. But something weird started happening. About an hour in, the walls started to move, and I know this is going to sound crazy, but I could taste purple. She began to smirk as I looked at her. She turned all kinds of different colors, and everything was spinning. As I looked at the ceiling, I could see stars and different colors. I looked down at the punch, and I sat down. I was like, oh god, oh no, what did you put in it? She said, it's gonna be okay. She sounded like some deep-voiced bass singer. Oh no, I was starting to trip. What did you put in this? And then she sounded like a Jamaican guy going, it's ecstasy, man. And I knew at this point that the nail was in the coffin. She drugged me. At this point, everything was going crazy. My heartbeat was going, sweat was coming down in waterfalls, and I could taste purple for some reason. I woke 3 hours later. Abby just arrived, and I was in the back of the club. Half my clothes were gone. I was in my tidy whities, standing there dancing with a beer. Guess I was in some sort of daze. She said, man, you blacked out. I was like, where the heck did you go? She's like, I ran some errands. Don't worry about it. Here's your badge back. I grabbed it. Head was pounding. It felt like Deadmau5 was doing a concert inside my skull. I rubbed my forehead and grabbed it from her and said, why do you keep taking this from me? She's like, I had to stop at the office and get some stuff. And she gave me a coat to wrap up that I'd left at the office. I said, why were you there? It's after hours. She said, don't worry about it. I got in there. Nobody cared. Nobody worried. The janitor even let me out. He was really nice. I didn't even ask questions. And she said, come on, party boy. Let's go to let's get out of here. She propped me up against the back of the motorcycle. And She told me to hold on. She said, "That's a lot of that stuff's in your system still, so you might not want to go into a house. You might freak out still." As if the 90-mile-an-hour speeding through traffic and going onto the highway wasn't scary enough and making my trip worse as the lights made it look like we were warping in Star Wars. But it was kind of nice. I would let go with both hands and hold onto the bike with just my thighs gripping tightly, but letting my hands sway in the wind like I was some kind of tree in a storm. She would sometimes grab me and smack me in the face as she was trying to hold the bike steady, trying to make me hold on to her. I wasn't having any of it. She said, "You gotta maintain." She was clearly getting irritated at the decision she made for me that night. But it was so nice. The cool air felt like the ocean was literally kissing me on the lips, and like the night sky was just a massive, massive bowl of crystals that I could look into all day long. The asphalt and the fresh rain on the ground smelled so wonderful. Everything was soft. All the senses were sharpened. The cool night air was so brisk and crisp, I could bite into it like an apple, and at one point I think I tried to. I've never done this stuff, but I tell you what, I can see why people got hooked on it. I looked back and Abby was smiling and kind of laughing. Small at first and then laughing pretty hard as we were riding down the highway on the way home. She looked back at me and then looked forward into the traffic, and we swerved a couple more times, and I almost fell off, and she grabbed me by the wrist and wrapped my arm around her waist. I buried my head into her neck, and she smelled nice. She wasn't wearing Axe this time. I buried my head into her neck and just laid there and squeezed tighter and held on. I sat there and I felt safe. I felt happy with her. She would look down at me and kind of grin and continue to look forward. Is this what it's like to really have a good relationship? One that's alive? I mean, the girl had the personality of nitroglycerin in a particle glider, don't get me wrong. And she was like a wild horse, and I was like some kind of tame, castrated hound without legs. I like to think she complimented my life. And it took a drug trip for me to realize that. By the time we got home, she was laughing and I was stumbling my way off the bike and I fell on the ground. She picked me back up and she helped me into the house and we sat on the couch and she put on some TV and she made me some soup and put a blanket over me. At this point I was coming down, and so the headache started up again. She came back in and sat next to me and spoon-fed me some soup. It was nice. For a minute there, I literally thought that we were boyfriend and girlfriend, husband and wife, maybe. I think I'm falling in love. She looked at me with those deep green eyes and she said, "Are you feeling better?" She kind of smirked, and I told her I was feeling great. We looked into each other's eyes, and as I started to lean in to kiss her, I lurched forward, and we hit each other's heads together. She sat there holding her eye and said, "What's wrong with you? I was supposed to lunch." And she's like, at this point, everything fell together as the awkwardness was palpable in the air. I just headbutted the girl of my dreams. She held my head, looking at me, and she kissed me. It was the greatest feeling on the planet. I don't know if it was the ecstasy talking, or those angels and the devils that you see in the cartoons on your shoulders. One was going, "No, man, you're in too deep," and the other one was going, "Alright." But it was like a symphony. I could hear the songs of old, da 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 da, everything playing all at once, fireworks going off, the national anthem, soldiers saluting, planes flying by with the red, white, and blue smoke. Everything came to a crescendo, a climax. Then I drifted off into sleep. Passing out, she laid me down on the couch. But that was Aberdeen. She was there for me. When she needed me, she returned the favor. That night was the coolest thing ever. Despite the fact that she drugged me, and I was still a little pissed about that. All I could think about in my dreams was having more fun, hanging out with her more. It was wonderful. Everything was so ethereal. Maybe I was still on the stuff or what. God knows I didn't want to do that again. I know she was going to get a stern talking because of it. But I didn't care what time it was. I didn't care about my crappy job. I didn't care about nothing happening in my life, nor my parents' disapproval with my life. I didn't care that everybody hated me at my job. I didn't even care that she was getting into my job and bothering me. I didn't even care really now that she drugged me. We were laying on the couch. It was probably 1 or 2 a.m. at night. Or in the morning. You know, it's tomorrow. Let's be honest. She was laying there on me. Snuggled up about chest level. I looked down at her and ran my hand through her hair. She grabbed the blankets and got closer. She was sleeping. It was the most peaceful I've ever seen her. It was nice. I closed my eyes. Maybe things weren't so bad. Maybe change was a good thing. But that's okay, because I had Aberdeen.